it was wild. I mean, and you see these things in movies and in TV and everything, but to actually see a snake charmer in the middle of the Medina and a monkey tamer, and there was a man selling teeth, which I thought was the strangest thing I'd ever
did not see
seen.
the guy selling teeth.
He had a whole tray of teeth.
Tuesday Happy Hour, where we interview dope people doing dope things from around the world, and we're in season 4. Season 4 is Voyage 22. But before we begin, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you guys know when we drop new episodes. Season 22, Voyage 22, is the culmination of the combining of two great souls, myself and my beautiful wife, and we were able to bring about 50 plus of our friends and families to come out, and we have an interesting couple coming on, and they were probably the light of the party. One which was a jokester the whole time, and the other provided my beautiful wife with an amazing gift so she can go down the aisle. So I want to introduce to you guys Nikki Books and Claudio. So can you guys tell us who you are and what you guys do?
Go ahead.
Ladies first.
All right. I am Nikki Bookstaver Juarez. I am a planner in the fashion industry. I know Jackie. We used to work together at Ralph Lauren for a long time. We've known each other for probably 12 years now, and we were honored to be invited to the wonderful wedding of Jackie and Paige in Morocco.
Hello, I'm Claudio Juarez, and I am a medical device rep, so in sales, building relationships, and also run a Jets fan supporter club with my amazing wife and another partner named Lou, and also run a Greek apparel company called We Pledged. And I was blessed enough to have met Paige and Jackie as the +1, and through Nikki, and we'll get into the whole amazing life experience. So
Okay. So now I don't understand how he didn't do Gotham City Crew any justice, right? So partner, I'm gonna have him do this again for Gotham City Crew. Can you please tell us about this, Jets enthusiast organization? Because you got the shirt, you got the hat, but you seem, kind of a little reserved. And this is not Nikki, this is not the Claudio that I know.
That Claudio, the one he's speaking about, was reserved for Morocco, so you had to be there. All right, so Gotham City Crew I was just doing the top line of what we did, so we'll really dive into it a little bit. So Gotham City Crew is a New York Jets fan supporter club. The entire idea of it, my family's from Uruguay and Guatemala. The Uruguayan side holds the soccer DNA. The Guatemalan side, one day they're going to make the World Cup and win the Copa Oro. But I grew up in a soccer household where soccer's life. There's no other sports allowed. There's nothing you could play except soccer, football. And even a memory that I think about is I decided to play Little League 1 year, and my dad didn't talk to me for a few months because I chose Little League over soccer. So that's how ingrained it is into our household and culture. Grew up in a fan supporter club, so to get the idea and the gist of it is if you look at ESPN Deportes, you look at all the interclubs of soccer, they all have these insane fan supporter clubs where even in some countries, in some matches, the police separate the supporter clubs. They have fences so nobody can intermingle because it's that crazy. The idea, the DNA of it came from soccer. So 2015 Gotham City Crew started, and it was that's the official start date, but the seed was planted from growing up in that household, but more importantly, I'd gone to see the Jets play the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Call up the Jets. Who's your fan supporter club? Who does your travel? They have no idea what I'm talking about. And it was kind of like, what? How does this not happen? And then later to find out, it's not part of American football culture, the fan supporter club. So fast forward to 2015, called up the Jets. How much are group tickets? Because we had a bunch of people. The Jets were finally going to be good. So we're amped, got to be there, and just call up and say, hey, how much are 10 tickets? You get a certain price, similar to Costco and BJ's, and then just did a whole outing for it. People started asking, what's the next one? What's your name? I had no name, but Gotham City, it always goes towards New York, that whole vibe of it. And growing up, had a bunch of breakdancing friends, and even in college, and that was their crew. You grow up with your crew, so it just made sense. Gotham City Crew. And it was just throwing ideas with my buddy Hector, one of my best friends. And that's how it came about. 2015, unfortunately, the Jets had a meltdown and a heartbreak again. So I've endured love for quite a many years. And then just started rolling. 2018, blessed enough to get the trademark. And we printed our own gear, got the trademark, and was able to do the partnership with New Era Hats. So shout out to them, the Gold Standards. And it's just really grown to bring fans together. And I can't do it without my amazing wife, who keeps us financially sound, and Lou, who does a lot of the tailgate organization, a lot of the heavy lifting, because if you've seen him, he's got big muscles. And social media-wise, I handle that. So just collaborate together. And
well, the biggest thing about Gotham City Crew that we say is we are a place for fans. That is the most important element of it. We met through the Jets. Our friend Hector, who he was talking about, introduced us. I had met Hector on an epic trip in Costa Rica, so all ties back to travel.
Yeah.
And we had very few other Jets fan friends, and Hector.
Sadly,
I had probably 2 or 3. Hector had Claudio and maybe 2 or 3 other ones, and he's like, when we get back to the States, we have to watch a Jets game together. So we went to a tailgate, which was my friend, myself, Hector, and Claudio, literally just around the trunk of our car, having a few snacks, and then going into the game together. And what we evolved from that is now a 200-300 person tailgate, and we even say that calling it a tailgate is really selling it short. It's a full experience. Photo booth, DJ's on Hot 97. Our chef Frank is incredible. He won Chopped Tailgate Edition. So we really, really have built up this amazing experience for people to come together and feel welcome and a part of a community. And we travel together. So that's another big component of it, is we will just gather people together. We're kind of like an information center.
We're like Thelma and Louise.
We're like the information center when people are traveling and they're like, hey, do you know where there's going to be other Jets fans? We kind of are a meeting point for that. We collect other information. We gather other fans and say, hey, we know that this group is going to be here. We know that group is going to be there. Go meet them. Go hang out. Go have a great time. And some of the best experiences we've had was traveling to support the Jets and the friends that we've made along the way.
Yeah, I think you definitely nailed it. Nailed it! Whoever watches that show knows the reference. But it all goes back to when Nikki spoke about we had maybe 1 or 2 other friends, and that was the main reason of it, because I didn't have a lot of Jet fan friends. Nikki didn't have a lot of even friends. I don't know. Maybe I'm your oldest friend now, you know? But that's what it is, and we've encountered a lot of people that are in the same situation that we were, because I remember I used to look around the parking lot and then just try to slip into tailgates like Wedding Crashers, but tailgate edition. And all the tailgates are small, so people are like, who are you? And you can't say, oh, I know this person, because they're all right there. Mm-hmm. So just kind of the fear of missing out, and it'd be my buddy Hector and I'm like, I know everything about you, like we're just sitting here And drinking some beers. Yeah, I drank some beers way back when.
So now it's this big behemoth of an event every time you guys
like a circus, you know.
And you guys really have to see this fan bus. They have this bus where
you have 2
buses.
There's 2 buses.
It's storage and transportation. So they found a way to make it super useful. Now, with that being said, where are you guys originally from? I know you mentioned Ecuador and
Uruguay and Guatemala.
Whoa, that's the World Cup. As the World Cup is leading up, Uruguay has qualified. It's going to get rough with these.
I apologize. So tell me where you guys are both from.
Well, that's where you are. So my family originated on my mom's side in Ireland and Austria.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad's side, Italy, and then Germany. Germany, that side of the family has been in the United States since 1736. Everyone else, I think I'm 3rd generation American.
Okay.
Yeah, as you go up there, I'd like to give a shout out to Montgomery, New York.
And
yes.
Okay. And you guys explained how you guys met, so that was pretty cool, right?
Yes.
And so now, what was what was your introduction to travel, individually and then together?
Yeah. So my parents we stopped doing family vacations when I was 10 years old. So I have 2 older brothers. They're 6 and 4 years older than me. My parents were kind of separated. They didn't get divorced until I was a little bit older, but we stopped doing family vacations when I was 10. And my dad really noticed that was something an experience that I was missing, because my brothers, they were 16 and 14, so weren't really into family vacations anymore, so didn't bother them any. But my dad really wanted to make sure that I still got those experiences. So every year from that point forward, we would sit down and he would say, where do you want to go this summer? What do you want to do? And we would plan vacations together. It was never like, this is where we're going. It's, what do you think we should do? And we went up to Montreal one year. We would go to Ocean City, Maryland. Like, it was always places that we could drive.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Gettysburg one year, and we would just have the best time, my dad and I, and sometimes I would bring a friend along. And that was just a big part. It was just getting away with my dad and experiencing these different places around the country or different cultures. Mm-hmm. We went on a cruise one time around the Caribbean. He had won a cruise for work.
Gotta love those cruises. Cruises are a great way to see a lot of places all at once. So what about you, Claudio?
Man, think about it. But Nikki can probably talk about this cruise she was on, like a Titanic experience.
That's
craziness, like wild. So, it's not Ecuador. Uruguay and Guatemala. It's just because soccer season, the World Cup's coming up. But from travel as a whole, it was embedded as far as I can remember, just growing up. Yeah. My dad came to this country at 17, and my mother, I believe it was 18, and worked her way up. My dad worked his way up from cleaning toilets to executive chef, so definitely the American dream. And the country club where he was the executive chef at would close in the month of February. So growing up, I was truly blessed because my dad would fight with the Board of Education and sign us out for literally 6 to 7 weeks.
Wow.
And we would just drive down to Florida in a minivan, kind of like the Mystery Mobile from Scooby-Doo type looking, but
upgrade to a camper.
Yeah, to pop up. Then we went to, it's a C-class type of motorhome where it looks like a van front and the park goes over. And just after that, he went to one of those tour buses after retiring. But just doing that as a young kid and just the great memories. I remember one time in Uruguay, mate it's a bunch of herbs and you hold it in a thermos and just drink it in a bombilla. And it's basically, it looks like a circular canister with a metal straw and you just sip it. Amargo is without sugar. with sugar. I like just to have it sweet. And my brother broke it. And back when you were able to hit the kids, I remember he got his ass lit up. And that's kind of one of the greatest memories I have because my brother was the golden child. It was like, oh.
So your best moment as a kid traveling was this drink was destroyed, or the experience of drinking this thing was destroyed,
done.
and your dad you beat your dad.
You have to understand. So I've known my father-in-law now for 5 years, and you never see him without his thermos and his and you never see him without
cultural,
it.
That's what they do. But just traveling as a young age, and then we'd always have to travel because that was by car, because that was his thing. Which as a kid you're like, this sucks, and it was before mobile Game Boys even. I just aged myself, but literally from Hangman in the car. Red light, green light, 1, 2, 3, punch buggy, bam! All of those fun games are what the greatest memories we had growing up. And then even one time when south of the border, whoever has driven down 95 South had visited south of the border, and my grandmother used to give us money for the trip, so she was our savior because my dad wouldn't give us nothing except the necessities, and I spent it all on fireworks one day. So I put it in the camper, and I did not realize how hot the Florida sun is. So we drove down, camped, and then go on the cruise. We come back from the cruise. I go check on my fireworks, and I got lit up. Like, it was no holds barred. Like, he was the Undertaker, and I was like the Hardy Boys. Like, that size difference. I was like, ah! And it was basically, just some choice words of realizing that fireworks can go off in extreme heat, but
I never heard that.
The fact that your dad didn't spoil the child by sparing the rod made you this amazing person that you are.
And I deserved it that evening.
So what was the first trip you guys took together?
Oh man.
So
official or like
however you guys want, because you probably wanted to impress her and be like, hey, I'm gonna take you to this. Right?
There's two. Technically the first trip that we went on, we just started dating. So we met in 2012. I was not a fan of him. It took him 5 years to wear me down. And finally in 2017...
Like Cinco de Mayo.
Finally, in 2017, we started hanging out and started dating. And I was supposed to go on a trip to St. Thomas with my friend for her 30th birthday. And that was the year that the 2 hurricanes came back to back. So St. Thomas got wiped out like a month or 2 before we were supposed to go. And then we had a connecting flight in Puerto Rico. So we're like, well, let's just go to Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. Puerto Rico got hit. So we were like, all right, this feels like we shouldn't be going on this trip. We couldn't agree on where to go, so canceled it all together. And I'm like, well, I have all these vacation days. It's like, I have a friend's wedding in Tulsa, Oklahoma coming up.
You had a friend
that I really wanted to go to, and I'm like, you know what? Let me invite Claudio and just see. So I was very surprised. He just jumped on it. He's like, sure. I'll go to Oklahoma with you. And he's like, and I'm going to New Orleans in December for the Jets game. So why don't you come with me to that? Now I had all this vacation time. So very quickly, our relationship accelerated. So we did Oklahoma in November and then Tulsa,
Oklahoma,
which was so fun because I like to just do an adventure. I like to explore and see, and I was looking up flights, and it was significantly less expensive to fly into Bentonville, Arkansas,
which is the land of Walmart for those that
and drive. It was like a 2-hour drive to Tulsa. And I asked him, I'm like, what do you think? You want to do this? And he was like, yeah, why not? I'm down for it. And you really, really, really find out if you are compatible with somebody when you travel together.
Especially when you're stuck in a car.
Yes.
Stuck in a hotel.
We had been, because you're 24 hours with this person. And I had friends that I've traveled with. I had, previous relationships I had traveled with that just, that's the indicator.
I will say you are a patient person. Claudio. I love you, Claudio. If so, what you guys are seeing is his representative. He's being very good for the camera. Claudio is a character, so hopefully you guys get to see more of Claudio soon. But you know, you're a patient person. I have to give you that credit.
Yeah.
Nikki says it. She says it so sums it up. She says that it's like I wear a battery pack.
Yes. Imagine the Energizer Bunny,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like he has a battery pack, and he is charged by applause. So the more people feed into and give him, and his son is the exact same way, the more...
I am the father.
Yeah, the more that they get applause or that people are entertained by them, the more it goes.
Laugh. You're with me, just laugh. It's all right.
So you guys pretty much have the Jets as kind of like the center of you guys meeting.
It's
and part of some of your like mutual travel, right?
Yeah.
Now outside of the Jets, what are some of the things that keeps you traveling? Like, what do you look for when you guys travel? Because like I'll say I look for food. Some people try to find that next home. Yeah. Like when you guys travel, what is that one thing that you guys kind of look for?
Well, so I will say back to our second trip that we had gone on, that New Orleans trip. Claudio used to live in New Orleans, so I had never been. I had always wanted to go. We went for the Jets game, but we went into it and he's like, I'm going to show you a half a block of bourbon and then we're doing local stuff. And I fell in love with the city. He had already loved the city.
Were you in love with me by that time or no?
We were actually.
Just
that
asking
was a couple months before. Yeah,
around.
You said it first a couple months before, but
it's not a competition.
That was
just want to see love was ingrained in that roller trip.
So we went to New Orleans and we just really felt at home, and we have friends down there. They were
my friends. She took them.
No, some of them we met together, so we do have true mutual friends down there, Jason and John. But that's really our place to recharge. I mean, we have New Orleans all around our apartment. We got married in New Orleans. We are so busy with everyday life, and it's very easy in a relationship because this is your person. You see them every day. You kind of very easily can take that person for granted and them being around, and everything else gets so overwhelming and can cloud really the time that you have together and focusing on each other. Yep. So we get so stressed with work and with all of our side projects, Gotham City Crew, with We Pledge for You. I do volunteer work. We have so many things going on with family, with being parents, that we love to escape all of that and recharge somewhere. And New Orleans is always our home base. We try to go there once or twice a year because that's where we really feel like we can put everything aside and just be us and just be in the moment with each other, and time slows down, and it's great. And then other than that, when we do an additional trip, usually, I know for me, I love to experience other cultures. I love to not so much go to like touristy places. I want to go and really see how people live. Or like one of my favorite trips was I went to Florence with my family. And what I loved about Florence is you could walk around and envision someone walking next to you from the medieval era, like the 1400s and beyond, because it's so well preserved that you can really feel what it was like. Yeah. And, I feel like Morocco was like that as well. You really can almost feel like you're stepping back in time, and you can see all of how this all became. And I think that's really cool. It's a really cool thing to experience.
I know Nikki nailed it with New Orleans being our happy place. Literally, to go and escape the hustle and bustle of the city, the nonstop of the Northeast. And it depends on what the trip is what the focus of where we would like to go to.
Yeah.
And like we default always to New Orleans just because we love it. It's literally home that if we were ever to pick another place to live in, New Orleans is going to be that place, just from the culture, the food, the people. You feel as if you have a lot more time in the day. If you haven't been there, visit. I'll send you a whole list. But it's amazing, just beautiful place.
We might just have you just...
we have to just go for New Orleans,
you know? Might have to go to New Orleans and just, look, so if you're interested, we're going to do New Orleans the Claudio way. And hopefully we can get him to come out and provide us a Claudio tour of New Orleans.
Everclear.
Yeah.
But no, 192 proof free liquor. But locations, it all depends on what you're looking to do for that trip. Like Nikki had said, we don't like to go to a tourist place. Like if we were to say, for example, just pick in New York, if we've never been here. I don't want to go to Times Square. We want to just deep dive into the culture, and Nikki's the food experimenter. I'll see how she reacts to it. Let me know if I'd like it or not. My son's the same exact way, but can we escape to one of the great trips we went to was St. Thomas, and just literally I just wanted a tiki bar on a beach and we did nothing, and then we went zip lining and just had to escape the hustle and bustle to go and relax. And bucket lists, I know Australia's top for me, in Egypt to see the pyramids.
So you guys mentioned two things, memorable and bucket list. So first, what's your most memorable trip?
Gosh, I have so many.
Outside of Tulsa and New Orleans for the first time.
I have so many.
Tulsa was great.
We had a lot of fun.
So let's talk about Tulsa. Like, what was so great about Tulsa? Now, whether it's a guy or it's a girl, inviting someone to a wedding is a big deal.
Yeah, because you're like showing out. Like, here you go.
It's like, this is my person, so you might see him more.
So actually, that trip was one of the things that made me realize that he was my person. Because he's unlike anyone I had ever dated before.
What size hat is that, just in case your head blows up after she says this?
I can put one finger in here right now.
So
7 and a quarter.
Space. So you got a little more space.
7 and a quarter. Oh my God! Why did I have to check to see what hat size I wear?
So what happened with the Tulsa trip? It was, Claudio was unlike anyone I had ever dated, and like I said, it took me a long time to accept that this was the person I was supposed to be with, and that I should even give him a chance.
You were like Public Enemy, fight the power. You couldn't fight the love power.
Exactly. So when I invited him to go to Tulsa, I really saw who he was. He was just down. Yeah, let's take the drive from Bentonville. Yeah, let's. I was friends with the bride, and I was going to the bridal shower the morning of the wedding. And the bride had reached out to me and said, "Listen, I know that you're bringing somebody, and if he'd like, he can go golfing with the groomsmen." That wouldn't be something that I would do if I was the plus one. I would be like, "No, I'm good. I'm going to stay in the room. I'm going to be, super introverted and reserved." And he was like, "Yeah, I'll go with them. Sure, why not? I'm a terrible golfer, but I enjoy driving the golf cart." When we got to the church for the wedding, he was fixing the groomsmen's ties. They were all like, "Hey, that's my guy." Like, you would think that I was the plus one at that wedding. You would really think. And it was just so refreshing just to see how carefree he lives and how open he is for everything. And he's really, we really balance each other out in that way. I kind of keep him grounded, but he doesn't let me kind of hide away too much. Mm-hmm. So that it was not about the place so much. It's always about people you're with.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Claudio?
Yeah.
I guess
we had a lot of fun.
Fun fact about that trip, golfing in Tulsa. growing up, I was forced to work. So where my dad was the executive chef, I was a caddy. Mm-hmm. So I hate golf, but I will go. I'm a great golf cart driver, but I suck at golf. So invite me to your outing. It's super fun. And the main thing is about any place, because we can either end up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it did cross my mind when she mentioned it, those storm chasers. Mm-hmm. So I was ready with like my phone, like we see a tornado, right? Like we're recording, and I don't know if we'll drive towards it, but you know those moments, you know. And it's all about just really balancing each other out, no matter where you are, because there's been cases that we've been stuck on extended layovers.
We were stuck in Tulsa. We were. Our flight was delayed leaving Bentonville. And
it turns out that I'm in a National Latino Fraternity, Phi Iota Alpha. Shout out to them. And I pledged back when, fall 99, I'll give myself a little pep in my step. Founded Michigan State Phi chapter, holla. But one of my chapter brothers, not my chapter, one of my frat bros from New York, he actually works for Walmart. And it was one of those where I'm like, who lives here? Like, we got time.
We're stuck in Bentonville.
I'm like, you still live in Bentonville? He's like, yeah. So we met him at his house. We went around. We learned about Wally World. They even have a museum. Yeah. Like it literally looks like Sim City, like placed in Bentonville, Arkansas. And it's one of those where just go with the flow, and the person you're with just really makes it great, because I'll be like, charge everything, and she's like, hell no. So you need somebody to ground you, and whether it's Bentonville, Arkansas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, it's just we really enjoy being places together. Number one, to be able to reset, and Nikki put me onto this thing called the 222. I can't remember the details of it, but I know it exists in our household. You want to speak about that, what it represents, and what we've implemented from a travel, but also kind of a core of our relationship.
Yeah, making sure that we stay connected. It's every 2 weeks. Make sure you have a date night. You go out to dinner. Every 2 months, make sure you get a weekend away, just the two of you. And every 2 years, have a big trip, like a week-long trip, whatever.
Oh, that's exactly what I just wanted to be sure that that's what it was.
Yes.
So you guys are amazing, because at the end of the day, your patience, Claudio's energy, I can only imagine how every experience is just that much
Everything's
crazy.
An experience.
So now let's talk bucket list, right? Yeah. Like, you know, you guys have a bucket list individually and together, or just now you guys just combine it as one big bucket list?
Well, it's whatever she decides that I like. I'm the marriage.
Smart man.
It's individually and together. I would say, so coming into the relationship, Claudio is more of a go lay on a beach. Actually, not lay on a beach. He is a vacation to a beach. Mm-hmm. Can't lay on a beach the whole trip, but he'll like be doing stuff in the water. Yeah, they call him Lobster actually in New Orleans, our extended family there. But I am more of I love to experience the cultures. I love to do adventures. I don't want to go somewhere that could be anywhere. Like, I don't want to go to a beach somewhere that could be Florida. Florida's great. Love to visit Florida.
Could be Jones Beach.
It could, I want to go somewhere that's unique and special. And, one of my most memorable trips, I was thinking about it, is Costa Rica. I did an adventure tour in Costa Rica when...
so I have you to blame.
Yeah.
With Jackie.
Yes,
yeah, I have you to blame.
Yeah, we had talked about it.
Appreciate it.
One of my favorite experiences of my lifetime, I rappelled down a 165-foot waterfall.
Oh, Tarzan, and it was female edition.
It was incredible. So, like, that's the type of thing that I love to do. I love to go on a trip and, like, not so much have every single day planned, but I don't want to waste my time just kind of lounging around. So we've been balancing on some of those of like, all right, what are cool cultural places we want to go to that we can have some relaxing chill days that would be like a beach day for him, and get that cultural experience or that adventure experience for me. So top of the bucket list for me has always been Australia. which is also on his bucket list. So Australia, my birthday is January 26th, which is Australia Day.
Oh, wow.
So I always thought it would be cool to spend my birthday in Australia. So that's
Hint, hint.
that's a bucket list for sure. Never worked out with work because it's the end of our year for work. So it's a hard time to take a 2-week trip. Let's see. Greece. I've always wanted to go to Greece.
We'll just go to Astoria.
We can. I've been to, actually, also, I've always wanted to go visit where all of my family is from,
Nice.
where my family originated. That's been a big bucket list thing for me. In 2019, my mom and I went to Ireland to see where her grandparents came from. Absolutely incredible, memorable trip. Just me and her. I mean, we cry about it all the time when we talk about it because it was just so amazing, and just like we truly felt changed after that trip. And my dad's side is the Italian and the German side. So I went to Italy with my dad and my brother and my stepmom. Fantastic. Loved everything
Claudio,
about it.
you'll enjoy Oktoberfest. It's in October.
Yeah.
That's during the season, so you might have
always
to.
the rough.
Yes.
You might have to sacrifice a game to do October. Like, if you like tailgating, you'll love Oktoberfest.
So we actually have, through the Jets, there is an amazing group of
Gang
fans.
Green Germany.
Gang Green Germany, great friends of ours.
Yeah.
They've been coming to our tailgates
For quite
for
some time.
a while, and every time they're like, "You guys need to come to Germany. You need to come visit us. We will take you around." And we were going to do that as a honeymoon.
Yeah.
But then what ended up happening for us, because we got married during the pandemic, and we did the 2020, the micro wedding, had to postpone our big wedding to 2021. We didn't really get a full honeymoon. So we've kind of been back and forth and all over the place of where do we want to go? What do we want to do?
Yeah.
Germany was on the list. We were going to go to Portugal because Claudio's family originated in Portugal, his Uruguayan side.
Yeah.
We were going to do that before Morocco, and then we were like, you know what? Let's not take the chance or run the risk of getting stuck in Portugal and missing the wedding in Morocco, and that was the point of the whole trip. Okay, so we scrapped all of that. But Egypt had never been on my list, honestly. The pyramids, that's at the top of his list.
Egypt is nice.
Yeah, and after speaking with some people at the wedding, they were telling us exactly where to go and what to do. And after visiting Morocco, which was always one of those places that I said was on a bucket list, but would probably never make it to the top of the bucket list.
Gotcha.
So when deciding to go to the wedding, I'm like, when else are we going to go to Morocco? This is such a great opportunity and to be with amazing people. So let's do it. And since then, we've put Egypt on our joint bucket list.
Nice.
To do. And yeah. So I still have to get to Austria and Germany. That would be one trip, probably.
Yeah, make that. Yeah, it's pretty much all in the same area.
Yeah.
So you might as well.
And want to see where his family's from in Uruguay and Guatemala.
Yeah. So Uruguay, Guatemala, not like what I just said, right? So Claudio, do you still have like a bucket list, or because you've seen everything, you're good?
Since I've been
I know
all
it's
of my
something
bucket
stupid.
list items have been taken.
Gotcha.
Well, Egypt is yours. What else?
I joke around a lot, but she's dope. So
That's dope.
She whenever we go out, she's always telling people, "Stop laughing, don't encourage them."
Don't encourage him.
It's like the same joke. It's like I'm a good group funny man, but if it's like stand-up comedy, I'd suck all eyes on me. So
okay.
So the joke travels, so it's a new audience, and she's like, "Stop!" But she's really, really dope. I definitely leveled up.
Do you have anywhere else on your bucket list other than
no,
Egypt?
it's definitely number one is to show her Uruguay, Guatemala, where my family is from, and then also to Portugal because that's where my dad's lineage started off, and crazy story about Portugal. Nikki's a better storyteller because I tell everyone I have self-diagnosed ADD.
I can sum it up.
I go on tangents. So the reason Portugal, Nikki can sum it up.
And why we were going to make Portugal a honeymoon for us. So Claudio's parents are from his dad's side is from Portugal, and when he retired as an executive chef,
my dad's grandparents.
yeah, Claudio and his siblings gifted his parents a trip to Portugal.
Nice.
So his parents were driving around the country, and his mom was very insistent that they go find the small town where his dad's family originated, and his dad was adamant against
Nobody's
it.
going to be there.
No, they're not going to know.
They
It's
left
a small
generations ago.
town. It's done. No. So it was, the way they described it was like a movie. It was raining. They parked like on a hill, and they were looking for signs of life, pretty much, of like, where could we go? The church was closed, which traditionally is where they keep all of the records.
Those small towns.
In all those small towns,
Mm-hmm.
Especially in Europe. That's usually the church is the starting point for
no
where the
welcome
records
center.
are.
You know, it wasn't like welcome to Florida welcome center.
And
None of that.
they found a pub, right?
Yeah, little bar.
Yeah, a little bar, and they went into the bar, and they were asking. His mom was asking around. His dad's like, no, don't say anything. Don't tell him that.
Your dad had a different life back then.
He was like, no. And his mom was asking, and it was the bartender's like, let me get the town historian.
Yeah,
right?
he's the dude that literally wrote the book, but he carries it everywhere. So
Yeah.
that
Wow,
guy
that's crazy.
brings the town historian and shows his mom and dad, Claudio's mom and dad, show a picture of his grandmother, your great grandmother, his dad's grandmother, shows the picture, and the historian was like,
look in the names.
he said, I've seen this picture before, right?
Mm-hmm.
The town historian, right? He was the one that was your dad's cousin.
I don't know if it's the historian. That we'll have to just verify. But
they knew, they had seen the picture before because someone their mom was the sister.
Oh wow!
No, it was the first cousin of my grandmother.
First cousin of the grandmother. Their parents.
So the lineage from their grandparents.
Yes, the woman in the picture. That was the sister of whoever the lineage. So they found their family.
My dad's grandparents were.
So that's a dope. That's a
That's like movie, you know.
That's
movie
like
status
that's
story.
before 23. No, what's the DNA thing?
Yeah, 23andMe,
and Ancestry.com. So you just go and just be like, look, have you seen my people? And then
literally show up with a black and white photograph.
And my dad, they went and got essentially what would have then become my dad's second cousin, I think.
Mm-hmm.
However, the numbers match up.
Ended up being family, yeah.
Goes back to the house where they lived across to where my dad's grandparents grew up.
Wow.
And the gentleman's mother was my grandmother's first cousin. They looked like they could be twins with my grandmother.
Oh wow.
So those pictures that the bartender was speaking about were in that household too. So my dad saw those pictures growing up in Uruguay.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And they were also in Portugal. So it's like you're like,
so
here's
that's the biggest thing of travel, right? It's like, your mom and dad took the initiative to kind of like say, you know what? I'm tired of hearing stories. I want to see it for myself.
Oh, my mom's pushing.
Well, it's a collective effort, right? Because without the curiosity, your dad wouldn't have gone.
Yeah.
Right. And so, as reluctant as he was, there was still that level of curiosity of like, yo, what if the stuff is still there? And I tell people a lot, travel, because you never really know what you end up experiencing. Yeah. And your dad probably, the OG that he is, probably shedded a tear while he was in the house.
Yeah.
And now he has something to be able to pass down to his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren. Yeah. And so now once you guys finally go out there, it'll be a situation where you two will be like, oh, this is...
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to kind of move forward a little bit here. Now, there's two stories when it comes to the invitation to this wedding.
Yeah.
And I'm not, because you are a long-term friend of Jackie's, and so I'm not sure if you got the initial email or the one I had her revise. Now, I didn't make her revise.
Okay.
I just suggested that she revise it, right?
Okay.
Just because everybody got lives. The first email was, hey, we're doing a trip going to Morocco. Here's the hotel information. Book it. And then there's the other email, hey, we're getting married in Morocco. Here's the information. Go in and book it. So which notification did you guys get?
So I remember this so clearly. We had gone to dinner, and that was the first time that we met you, Paige. We were, and the four of us.
Oh, you were at the boat basin.
Yeah.
in the city.
Yeah, we were having dinner together, and this has actually happened to us several times too, where we weren't on an initial wedding invite list, but we were out with the couple, and Jackie looked at you, and then she's like, "I really want you to come to our wedding," and had said that the hotel was pretty much already booked by her whole friend
list.
But she was like, "We'd really love for you guys to come," and I'm like, "Yeah, we'll definitely see if we can make that happen."
Yeah.
So then we were on the second round because you guys had decided to get married.
Got you. And so what was the planning like for you guys? Because you guys have children, you guys have a pet, right? Around here somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, very quiet right here.
Yeah.
And you guys like have things that you guys have to manage. And then on top of that, you're planning your second one, like your bigger wedding. So the planning for this, what was that like? Because, you know, one of the things that I like to, you know, give people insight into is planning a trip, especially international or something big like this. So what was the planning like for you guys to even get to Morocco?
Well, so I handle all of the details always.
Everything.
So
which is great.
We are kind of unique in the way that I'm a planner by profession. I like to be very organized. I like to know all of the components to what we need to do. But Claudio is extremely spontaneous, and we have developed a bit of a rhythm when it comes to traveling that we're very fluid with it. We can book a trip for next weekend, and we, you know, as long as we have certain moving pieces, like we're very fortunate.
But some of us can book a Disney trip for the next day.
Okay, let's not talk about that one.
My mother and also my
fiance. He takes it to an extreme, but we're very good at, like, you know, I'll compile all of the important information and what we really need to focus on, what we need to look at. My mom is great, always watching our dog, because she has the mom and the brother of the dog, so they're great
just
together.
Coming to go visit family.
They're great together, and we have an amazing relationship with my stepson's mom. So her and I plan the calendar out always, and you know, she likes to travel as well. So we're very, very good about making sure that he's always covered.
With one of us
in that way,
or herself.
The crazy thing about planning the Morocco trip was, yes, we had our New Orleans wedding in October of 2021. So we were basically pushing off, like, committing to joining the Morocco trip until the very last. Like, I literally text Jackie on the RSVP date. It was like October 22nd. And I'm like, okay, we're going to make this happen. We could do it. The crazy thing was Claudio's cousin was supposed to be getting married in Uruguay the week before.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So that was going to be a crazy.
So we were going to do a
Uruguay,
world travel trip.
Morocco.
Oh,
that was the plan.
We were going to do an epic trip.
I mean, after a wedding, I mean, you guys put in. This is before the wedding?
All the planning.
Oh, okay.
So
like
this was the
99.9. So literally, she's like Lysol. I'm the 0.1% of help out.
So what we had talked about it, because, like, we really wanted to go to his cousin's wedding. Our hearts went out to her. She lives in Germany and was supposed to get married in April, Easter week, 2020.
Oh, wow.
So her wedding,
everything.
Her wedding was canceled a month before, not even, and she just kept trying to rebook it, and it wasn't happening. So that was a big component of ours, is just, where are we coming from? What's our starting point? Are we starting straight from New York and going straight to Morocco? Are we going to go New York to Uruguay and then from there to Morocco? Or at one point, we were working with the travel agent who helped plan the whole trip to do a honeymoon around it. So we were going to do Portugal first when his cousin's wedding was like, this isn't going to happen. We were going to do Portugal first, and then
Spain.
Morocco, and then Spain on the way back, and then come home. So we were going to have this epic like honeymoon trip
so
around it.
they didn't have the wedding. They had
because
did.
of all the world changing so rapidly, nobody knew what
all
was
the
going
COVID
on.
requirements and people
And you're not
closing.
letting people in, so it was a whole. I mean, literally going by what the next update was going.
That was the biggest change too. Was that all that COVID, everything with COVID, with the restrictions, it was constantly watching it. So we had made our decision on really what we were going to do, I think in February, which was crazy because the wedding was 2 months later, and it was more because Morocco had shut down for a while.
Right.
They weren't allowing travelers in, and we were concerned that if we went to Portugal first, that they wouldn't let us into Morocco. And we
the core of the trip was Morocco.
We said the reason that we're going.
That's what happened to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that booked early, their flights got canceled. Like they literally canceled just the Lisbon to Morocco, Marrakesh portion.
Right.
I think we were originally flying into Munich. They canceled the Munich to Morocco. So, the Kingdom of Morocco was not playing any games. It was like, we do not need to bring any of this. And that's primarily because the numbers were spiking in Europe.
Yeah.
So if you're connecting from Europe, you're out of luck.
Yeah. So, and it was an ever fluid relay of information too. So it wasn't solid because it could change momentarily.
Right.
Yeah. And we just said, let's not overcomplicate anything. We spoke with the travel agent. We said, let's just plan our trip straight to Morocco and then straight home and just leave it at that. Something that I was really, because I did not want to get stuck anywhere and miss the wedding. I'm like, there's no chance we're going to miss this. So I wanted to make sure that we've had a connecting flight somewhere in Africa, right? So we were able to fly directly into Casablanca. And
like the movie,
just some things to watch for, like tips in terms of travel in general. Because we booked so late in the game, because we had made our decision so late, at that point, the flights were outrageous to come home on that Monday. So we were talking about it, and we're like, do we have a 30-hour layover somewhere to get the less expensive flight, or do we maybe come home a day later? We looked at it for the next day, just weighing all of the options and seeing like, okay, what's the best? Like, always have a few days buffer when you're traveling so that you can make those decisions. So we looked at it the next day to fly out Tuesday morning. It was
worked out
half price.
it was literally like $900 versus $2,500 a ticket. It was crazy.
No layover, so that was a huge benefit, but also a huge recommendation for long travels or anything. And if you have the flexibility to take the next day off after traveling from work,
yes,
huge, because you really can get your household in order. You can really kind of mentally start prepping to go back to work the next day following from day of rest and unpacking. But that could be
get back into
that's a tough one to go
culture.
Right to work right away.
So you guys had a lot of plan going into the planning phase of this thing.
Well, and also to consider, like, we had known that we were going to start trying to expand our family, and we were very strategic on that. That was another part of our decision making. Was we wanted to extend the trip and do the Sahara extension. We wanted to do the camels and like ride the camels through the desert and stay in the desert. And I was like, what if I'm in my first trimester? Like, what if I'm newly pregnant? And I'm like, and I don't know how I'm gonna act.
Life
I don't know.
planner.
Life.
It was just the consideration.
She's a forecaster.
It was the consideration of like, all right, we don't know how I'm gonna be feeling. We don't know. I mean, would they even let me ride a camel if they knew that I was pregnant? So, because most of those things you can't do. It's just a dangerous situation if you fall.
Yeah.
So we thought through all of that, and we're like, okay, it's important for us to start planning our family. So this is what we're going to do in the core trip. And staying the extra night at the hotel was like $100, and it was so relaxing.
So now you guys you guys went through this ordeal of planning. You guys finally get on the plane, make it to Morocco. Being that this is you guys' first time in Africa in general, right? Like, what was that experience like for you guys?
No, wow. I think number one, just the wow factor that you're literally going to another continent. Like you're going to Africa. Like it's just from an idea in your mind, it's just a dope. You're like, wow, I'd like to go to Africa one day. And after we spoke about Uruguay, the soccer and everything, when the World Cup was in South Africa, you really kind of dive into it because that's your peak of interest at that time. You're like, wow. So that really, I started just looking heavily into like, what's it like in the continent of Africa? I have friends that are that we grew up in the church, and they literally like half of the church, they're all Ghanaian. So we've learned so much about Ghana through them, and also the anger, because if everybody watched that World Cup back in Uruguay versus Ghana, it was a very controversial ending with Suarez in the hands and then Prince missing the thing. So kind of just beautiful, beautiful people, but they were angry at that time. It had nothing to do with it, but just really just educating myself of like piquing my interest there. Just really took it to the next level during that World Cup. But just a lifelong back, even I think for me it was either 6th or 7th grade. I had a teacher that was real into history, that really got into King Tut and the pyramids and the way a lot of those burials occurred and the embalming of the bodies. So all of that in the background. Maximo. See, kids, everybody, other parents, shout out to other parents that know you got a quick sidestep, yo, bring it back. But just good. that was just like, we're going to Africa, and we're going to Morocco, like, wow, you know, and that was the initial feelings, and super blessed to have a super planner of my life, which I needed. As you all can tell, I'm literally like the windy road in San Francisco. And just the hypeness. And even though I know I was going as a +1, I'm like, yo, we're going to have a great time.
He's the make the most of every situation kind of person. It's amazing.
It goes back to, obviously, we traveled together to reconnect emotionally and physically and just within our own relationship.
So this was like year 2, the 2 years, the big trip.
Yeah, this was our big trip.
So and it was the purpose there. And we always have our reconnection, but then to have what became an extended group of friends, and what was so unique, just this is the macro view of the trip, and we'll dive into Morocco, was just, there was no drama. At all. Not there wasn't, because everybody always hears stories.
Intentional in the people that were invited. It was no complainers. Nobody just, you know, it was no complainers, nobody that's gonna be like, I don't know about this. Everybody that was open to experience, because you know, one, it was, we wanted the people that we love to be there, those that can make it, that is. But then those that do make it, you got to be a go with the flow type of person. And that was literally the intention of everyone that we knew there, was a go with the flow.
And it set the tone of the trip from the beginning of the airport, where everybody met, and it was just, everybody was just
friendly.
We were on the Voyage 22 plane.
You guys were
there were like 20 of us on the plane. So it was from the second we got to the airport. But I know.
Oh, and even just the vibe, it sets the mood. Obviously, when you travel with your partner, you know kind of what the style will be. When you travel with a whole group of people, it is, you wonder, you're like, all right, will I know these people? Will I get along with them? Will I go somewhere and be like, oh, I'm tired of these people? But it was far from that the entire trip. And even how you spoke in terms of being strategic of who was invited. And Paige and Jackie were so smart that they would even give the times 30 to an hour earlier, because they knew we were all going to be late always. So even on that, everything just flowed out. It was a trip of
It was a
And
trip of a
and
lifetime.
you know,
Amazing.
although you guys weren't in the host hotel, the hotel you guys were staying at was beautiful.
And it was like a 6-minute
Right.
walk.
And that was even amazing because I was like, I thought you guys were like the other one, which was like a little further down the line. Now, you know, the first day, so that night we get there, we like convene in one of the like regular halls because the next day was the Medina, right? And
Cold.
you know, so we kind of gave some advice of what to do, what not to do. I hope it helped.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about the Medina because the Medina is going to preface what you're going to experience when you go to the bazaar in Egypt. So what was the Medina experience like for you guys?
I will say, well, more it was what the Jewish Center, right, where we had lunch that one day. So my first thought, which was very, very funny, is I remember going to Disney World as a kid, and I loved Indiana Jones. Loved Indiana Jones, and we
Dr.
saw
Jones.
this reenactment of Indiana Jones when we were in Disney, and they had it all set up. And when we got to the center of the Medina, and I'm looking around at everything, and I'm like, I feel like Indiana Jones is going to come riding right through here. Like it looked like that. It looked like that movie set. Like I actually think that's one of the bad parts about Disney is they do such a good job recreating places that when you go to the actual places look fake.
Oh, wow.
So it took me a little while to really see it as a real place.
And also, depending on the time you get to the Medina, right? So
yeah,
if you get to there early, it's almost like a huge empty space.
yes,
Right? It's like this empty quad
Plaza,
kind of, right?
yes.
And then around 11, 12, 1, you start, like, you know how you play the game Sims?
Yeah.
And then you just start adding the pieces. The plaza starts to get crowded. You start to see merchants, and you almost can't see the rest of the quad.
Yes.
Because there's so many different things.
It was wild. I mean, and you know, you see these things in movies and in TV and everything, but to actually see a snake charmer in the middle of the Medina and a monkey tamer, and there was a man selling teeth, which I thought was the strangest thing I'd ever
did not see a guy selling teeth.
He had a whole tray of teeth. He had like different dentures, and I was like, this is wild. It was like a giant street fair of all very unexpected.
Did you guys go into like the crevices of the Medina?
Oh yeah.
It
What
was
was that like? Did you get lost, or you guys GPS'd your way out?
We were with
you
the
were with
guide.
you guys with the guide the whole time.
But it did remind me of when I was younger, in my heyday. I'd gone to Mexico City. So the intensity of the amount of folks, obviously it's very similar to Times Square in terms of the amount of folks, but on steroids, because it's like you spoke about, it's literally from every angle, all of a sudden like Sim, and it's just all the merchants just start going, that it can be overwhelming if you're in an area that it's very rural. But it was just amazing to see just the way everything unfolds. And like Paige said, like you do one of those time lapse that folks post about, and it literally from quiet to just busy, and then comes towards the end of the day. And just this to see where as a whole the way they pray collectively, the whole country.
Oh, it's beautiful.
At a time,
Beautiful
just you
to
can
see.
hear it,
right?
and
It's
a
very
very
Ramadan.
respectful, very respectful country to be a tourist, to go and experience it there, and obviously certain places, because obviously there's merchants, so they're trying to get you to buy something. But it was a very respectful, beautiful place, and I think one of those where travel is so important because so many people have the narrative through their own lens, through their own experiences, or off of their own perceptions of things, and all over the world, that so many people, they could have a negative perception about it, and you go there and it's beautiful.
Well, I think too, when traveling in general, make sure if you're asking people's advice before you travel, if you're saying like, hey, have you ever been to wherever, or if you're even sharing that you are going to travel somewhere, because we were telling people we're going to Morocco. Some people were excited, and other people were like really pessimistic. Oh, make sure you cover your head and you this and watch out for these people. And
there's even that people that want to be the +2. My mom was down for the trip.
His mom tried to join the trip.
So we almost had 2 more going to the wedding.
It was really funny. So yeah, I think that you really need to watch the advice and the influence that you get. We are from the mind always of we're entering someone else's culture. So we go into it open-minded and incredibly respectful of
number one, yeah.
Incredibly respectful of the culture that we are entering. So, I had done a ton of research on like what to wear. We were talking about that before. It's really in Marrakesh, there's not much of a restriction.
Well,
but
it didn't help that your close friend created this entire guide, right? So she made an entire. So Claudio, what you probably didn't know is Nikki saved your life, right? So she made sure your attire was fitting.
Everything.
She made sure because Jackie would have had a conversation with her. It was like, what is Claudio wearing?
Yes.
So no tuxedo t-shirts?
No.
No. Save. That's the
She saved your life. So I'm gonna just let you know that because she packed for me. So
no, but I think the number one is the respect of doing your research prior, because it's not going there to any place. It's like going to somebody else's household, and we use that mindset even from when we visit through Gotham City Crew to visit other stadiums. And I'd let people know the number one greatest experience I've ever had with Gotham City Crew away has been Kansas City. And it was a horrible game for the Jets, like many are, but the second nicest fan base I've ever encountered has been in New England when the Jets played the Patriots. And people are like, what? And I think it all goes down to that, not going into somebody else's household and acting like an a-hole.
Right.
Number one, you know?
When you're traveling, especially when you're traveling internationally, you don't expect America in other countries.
Right.
Like, don't go somewhere expecting chicken fingers and fries and to have whatever TV shows or access to things. Like, you have to understand they speak different languages, they have different religious beliefs, there's different cultures, and go into that respectful and open-minded to learning what you can, because they want to share their culture, and it is so beautiful, and we love that. Even traveling throughout the United States, like, don't expect New York from other places.
So later that evening we have the reception and dinner at that super long table, and then party all night long in the
fun.
So the Janan Thompson staff, Marianne and team, you guys did an amazing job hosting us, and she opened our house open to us to like really enjoy ourselves. So like, tell us, what were your thoughts? Because I took some nice pictures of y'all, chilling, relaxing, and just together. So like, what was the reception like leading into the dinner and then the rest of the night?
It was so cool. I mean, we were one of the first ones there because I am on time. I followed the original time, not really.
It was still early. You didn't realize we were giving you guys a buffer. Gotcha.
It was the meme got him.
Which was fine. It was so nice because we got to enjoy the rooftop as the sun was setting.
Right. Everybody was upset about that because by the time everybody got there, the sun has already set. So
it was phenomenal. The sun setting over those palm trees, and then just how, I mean, there aren't a lot of buildings there, but also just like the roofs are flat. It looks different, and it was so cool to experience that. It was really cool to just walk around the grounds, and the reception was really nice. One thing that we've heard about that we were not as prepared as we thought we would have been. They always say that it's really cold at night in the desert. Did not.
So that wasn't a guide. I don't think a lot of people read the whole. You guys saw the pictures, and then didn't read the guide.
No.
You guys didn't read the guide?
I read that it was going to be cold, and I actually went out. I bought a cape.
Okay.
I bought a velvet cape in the Medina that day, and I was still freezing.
It was a little colder than expected.
It was funny, even during the day, if a cloud passed and the breeze would come and it would be cold. It was wild without the humidity. Yeah. It was interesting, but it was very cool.
Yeah, the experience definitely, and that's kind of like the physical of what you're looking at, but just the mental of the wow we spoke about before, like prepping for the trip, like we're in Africa, and that literally, the conversation with so many of the guests, it was the same thing. Everybody was just
in wow.
Not in shock, but just on a cloud of like, yo, we're here, like how, wow. And then that was just really, I think the line that connected everybody to break the ice was just like, we're here, wow. And just that added the whole mental and emotional vibe to it, where such a great group, because even it was literally the table was just like a table for a king and queen, and just like we're literally all just breaking bread together, and it was literally, you walked, everything was lit by fire, and just the food was amazing, and the table presentation when you go there, because it was like the African second line that we were going down.
That's exactly what I was just gonna say. I was waiting for that.
It was just
doing the dance on the first line.
I was crying when your dad broke into dance. Oh my gosh! But that was so awesome, because we had the second line. It's a traditional New Orleans thing at a wedding. So we had the second line through the streets of New Orleans at our wedding. And
I didn't think about that. That's interesting.
And so when they came out, when the staff came out and they were dancing and playing, and then we literally did a second line all the way up, and we were like, how cool is this that they're having like a Moroccan version of a second line? And it was really awesome. And I mean, the way that the attire was planned, it was so beautiful. The food was incredible. The table was magnificent.
Yeah, and I think
it was cold too. So those little clay
fire pits,
Oh, those were clutch.
It was just great. But even sitting down, obviously, it makes it where so many of us have the same beliefs of God, a God-centered relationship, and you could feel it through the entire trip, and just everybody just, uniting on that front. But even when people arrived, the stories of their journey to get there, there were many that were like 15, 16, 17, 18 hours, and delays,
people coming from all over.
That it just shows kind of the love that people have for you all.
So all of somebody that missed 2 flights because they were canceled on her.
So all of that coming together from the cloud, being on a cloud of like, wow, we're here in Morocco on another continent that I've always thought about but never thought that could have been a reality, to the vibe of everybody being chilled, to just the whole dinner, and you're looking around, you're like, this is a long table. Like everybody's here. And just everybody exchanging stories and hearing everybody's journeys to obviously to what they do at home, and just all of those and different walks of life, and
building. It was building a brand new family. You know?
It was absolutely.
And it was amazing how everybody was able to kind of like just gel. So now, we party through the night, because you guys were partying.
Oh yeah,
I see you guys.
Of course.
Burning a hole in the rug, just getting.
And I will say, Paige is speaking about the
house,
the after party. To it was then Paige and I had conversations about Greek life. He's a brother of Omega Psi Phi and a brother of Phi Alpha, and we've connected on that realm. But then also seeing his frat there, and they're strapping and strolling. I'm like, this is so dope, So that
a highlight. That was a highlight.
Just even connecting and speaking to your fraternity brothers, kind of the Greek world, made it a whole different connection level.
You guys end up knowing people that knew each other.
That's how,
Yes.
which literally 6 degrees of separation. One of the guys from Buffalo that pledged there, he knows a bunch of the guys that I pledged.
Right.
And it became a deeper connection level that you're friends, you know? It's instantaneously. It was just so many levels of connection. It was so dope.
Definitely,
Cool.
definitely. So we partied through the night.
Yeah.
You know, everybody woke up with sunglasses and Advil the next day. And then it's the wedding, right? Now, we gave you guys a 2-hour buffer this time because we knew people were still gonna take their time. But when you guys got, and now Nikki Books, you are like, Jackie was crying. Like, she was literally crying, and I'll explain this. And the way she explains it to me was, you know, your friendship means a lot to her. And your something old meant that much more to her. Like, let's talk about, like, the veil, right? Like, how did that come about, and what was the motivation behind that? Because I'm not going to tell you, she made me drop it, there was some sand in my eye as well.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So when Jackie started going wedding dress shopping, she invited me to go with her. I had kind of felt like a little bit of an expert on weddings, just having to go through the very unique situation of planning and then replanning, and then also fitting in a micro wedding with this whole pandemic. So I had a lot of experiences, and Jackie and I are very similar in the way that we take care of everyone else, and we often come off as so strong that we don't need anyone to take care of us. So knowing that about her, and knowing what I had gone through with my own wedding, and feeling like I wasn't seen at times, because to the outside world, I looked like I had everything together, and even on days when I was breaking down. So I've been kind of like a champion for my friends who are getting married now, in making sure that they don't go through that.
Right.
So now I'm gonna cry thinking about it. We were she invited me to go wedding dress shopping with her, and I was like, listen, these are the places. This is what my experience was like, wedding dress shopping, which I had a phenomenal experience. Didn't plan on, I thought I was going to be overwhelmed by it, but I had a great experience at the bridal salon where I got my dress. So I had talked her through, like, we'll go to this place and narrow down your silhouette first and get your ideas of what you're looking for. And she was like, I'd really love for you to come with me. So I was so honored to be there with her. And we went to Jehi Bridal in Englewood, New Jersey, where I got my dress. And I showed up with a notebook, like, ready to go. I'm like, okay, these are the things. This is her inspiration. And
this is how the trips are.
Planning.
So, she found her dress that first trip to that bridal salon, waited on it, was looking at other things. We had tried on veils, and she had done a few other dress shopping in the interim. And when she went back and decided on that, because it was a little bit later and it was going to be a rush fee and all of those things, she had this beautiful veil on that worked. It had flowers all on it. She had the flower applique, and she was going to go for it. But we're like, all right, well, maybe we'll find something less expensive, because the dress is already going to be above and beyond the budget because we have to rush it and all these things. And then the dress ended up being made in Ukraine, and with the war going on, didn't know if the dress was going to come in. And there were just so many stressors. And already I had a similar experience in terms of having a destination wedding. Obviously my destination was within the United States, so I could still get things shipped to me if I needed. But no, I knew also just how stressful that is, making sure you have everything. So we had talked a bunch during the planning process. She'd call me and just say, like, this is going on, just to be I was here to be a sounding board. And she said she wasn't gonna do a veil. She's like, I decided against it. And I wasn't gonna do a veil with my dress. And when they put the veil on, I'm like, this, it just makes it bridal. Just makes it, because you're not going to wear the veil the whole time, but it just adds that extra something. Because I didn't have a veil at our micro wedding, but then it just adds a different element. And I always had it in my head that I had my veil that could work, but mine had crystals down the side, and the ones that she was looking at had the floral applique. And she had a sparkle underskirt that she was originally going to remove from her dress. So when she decided to keep the underskirt, it had popped in my mind, like, my veil could work for her. So when she said it, when she said that she wasn't going to have a veil, I don't think I said anything right then, but the thought had immediately come to my mind, like, why not just have her use my veil? Why not? It's beautiful. It's cathedral length. It fits all the elements, and, that could be perfect. And then I finally offered it to her, and, she was really appreciative of that. And it just made it so special to have something borrowed and, add to the whole thing and not have to worry about that additional expense.
Yeah, because we went like bridal store after bridal store after bridal store, and she just couldn't find something that fit. So I wasn't crying. I was just something in my throat.
There's frogs around here.
Yeah, there's frogs around here somehow. So now we get to the ceremony, and one of the things that the photographer said was collect everybody's phones because in today's age, everybody's either on live, putting the ceremony on live, or flipping through their phones. What did you guys think about that? Because I know some people were like, no, you're not taking my phone. But did you feel like it helped in kind of really enjoying the ceremony?
Yeah.
So that was one of my recommendations
Nice.
when we were first going through. I'm the culprit.
So you're the culprit.
It was me.
Sorry, Rick. I didn't mean to accuse you. But
so that was something that, we didn't ask people to do that. And it's actually, we have a few very funny pictures of me walking down the aisle, and his uncle has a selfie stick.
Remember those?
Wow.
Has a selfie stick. But when Jackie was showing me her like brochure, right? Her travel
Max,
guide.
Can you close the door, Maximo?
When she was starting with the travel guide, and it was a rough template still. I was like, well, let me show you some of my pictures. Let me show you like some of the things that I loved. And we were going through it, and I said, you know what? Something to consider, and photographers really love this because people get in the way.
Right.
We had even a great friend of Claudio's who's a phenomenal photographer had his own professional camera, and our photographer was like telling him to get out of the way, like you're getting in the shots. So it is something that is helpful, and I feel like I'm not one of those people that's constantly recording or on my phone. I'm really about living in the moment. There are so many things that don't get captured through the phone. There are so many things. If you're there fiddling with your phone, you're going to miss the message. And Janae and Claudius had a beautiful message at the ceremony, and everyone was crying. And I guarantee you, people would not have gotten that same experience had they had their phone there worrying about, let me get this picture, let me take this video. And you don't really use those. You don't go back to those too much, and you don't want to ruin the moment for the bride and groom. And I think it just made it so much more intimate for everyone.
And speaking of crying, there was a freestyle in a 4-page letter that had sands in everybody's eyes at some point or another, right? What did you guys think about that? And you alluded to it a little bit, like, Janae had breathing techniques. calming techniques,
Mm-hmm.
a prayer, and then Claudius came out. Claudius, not Claudio.
I know that was a good funny one during the whole trip too.
Claudius, not Claudio. He brought in how they kept their union together, which was key because, and that was part of like after the vows, because I think sometimes what we don't realize, it's okay. Okay. I think a lot of times what we don't realize is that a seasoned couple like that can still contribute, not just to those that are married or those that are getting married, but to those that are interested in that stage of their life. So what did you guys think about, like, my vows, Jackie's vows, and of course
I think
supplemental stuff?
I think number one, definitely where they spoke about the experience, because it's like with traveling, with just life as everything is being now apparent, experience is such a huge factor, so that when they speak to others and speak about the roller coaster, because marriage is a roller coaster, because you have two different personalities coming together, and just speaking about kind of to get to where they are now, it takes work.
Right.
And I think one thing that they spoke about that really stuck with everybody is, no matter how smart you think you are, you still need help. And that's when they mentioned, if to speak to somebody, whether it's a therapist or a counselor, that becomes their focus. It's not your expertise.
Right.
So just like there's life coaches, there's business coaches, there's there's mentors in the professional industry. There's people from the fraternity world that we reach out to, how to, when you're an undergrad and running the chapter. All of those are experienced people that have gone through the struggle, that have gone through different situations to get to where they are now, and that's where the value is. So for a union to be even stronger, they hit it perfectly, because marriages and relationships, they are work, and it takes a lot of patience, and she has a lot of patience to deal with me, but those are the ones where communication, it's learning where to bend and where not to bend, that was all brought together when they were speaking.
Right.
I thought that the vows were so beautiful on both sides. So beautiful. When you came out with that, you scared me, I will say, in the beginning, because I was like collecting all the details and making sure that everything got there, the rings, and Jackie had her vows written on a scroll. And then I asked you for your vows, because I was going to have Rick like take a picture of the two of them together. And you're like, you know what?
I'm gonna freestyle it.
It's in my head. I got it right here, and that's it, and it'll be fine. And I was like, okay.
Just note, it wasn't until the moment she asked me to say my vows is when they literally came out at that moment.
Yeah.
So I was.
But they were so beautiful.
I was so nervous. So nervous.
So they were so beautiful and so spot on. And what I love, I think that it's kind of similar to travel, how people go in kind of expecting their own standards or whatever. What I have come to love about weddings, and what we've, I've noticed it more. There's been like a maturity in my thought process of weddings, because, we've gone to so many that are so similar. It's in a format or whatever. Now, when you really step back and think about what you are being invited to, it's not about the guests. It's not about, what food there is or what the dress code is or it's not about any of that. It's about two people joining their life together and finding you to be important enough in their life to witness that moment. And when you really come at it from that, like, I'm just honored to be a spectator in this moment, and get a glimpse into their love, it's so beautiful. And to see that, and just to have all that love surrounding you guys, but just the way you looked in each other's eyes and the words that you shared, it was amazing.
I wasn't crying. You were. Just so you know.
I was crying.
And I will say,
the phone part, I had experienced, the first time I ever experienced the phone taken away or not usage was at Dave Chappelle to see him. He was the first one that I've ever had where they're like, no phones, locked in a bag, and unlocked it, and it really added to paying attention because I'm literally always on the phone. So it's nice to be able to separate, but also not have access to it because even if you say no, you still check real
it's still it's in my mind.
Right. So I think that it becomes amazing and really everybody's just focused on the moment of what's going on instead of taking the perfect picture. Selfie. Yep. So that I highly recommend it. Yep. Because I mean you're.
Well, I'm not doing this again, so don't worry about it.
I was like, we're done.
Jackie, this is one and done. I belong to the streets after this.
I mean, you could just keep getting married. Like we've done it twice already.
You guys are better than me.
I will say one other thing though about the ceremony that I loved, and Jackie and I had talked about this when, because we've known each other for a long time and we've seen each other through some pretty terrible relationships, which you need in life to learn about yourself and grow. But when she had met you and she was telling me about your relationship, I said, there's something so different when you really find your person. And it's so difficult to explain that to people who aren't at that point in their life, because you don't, like, sometimes when you're the single person, like sometimes when you hear someone talk about their relationship, they come off as like arrogant or like they're better than in some way. But when you truly find your person, the right person for you and your match, you want that for everyone. And it's not a comparison thing. It's not my guy is better than your guy or whatever. It's when you really find the right person for your soul and your life and you have that partnership, it's life-changing. And we had talked about that at length, that it's just you want everyone to experience that love and that feeling and that connection. And it's not that you're missing something as an individual, but you do feel complete and whole. It's like you're bringing your best self to the table and they make you better and they bring out the best in you. And there's just so much to it. And I was, there were a handful of longer relationships at the wedding, and there were a bunch of single people as well. So I'm always aware of, how people are interpreting the message. And what I thought was so beautiful at your wedding was I was looking around at all of the single people there too, and everyone was so hopeful with the love that you guys shared and what Janae and Claudius were saying together, and the conversations we had at the reception afterwards. Everyone was just like, you know what? I am so inspired and I hope that I find that someday. And there was no cynicism. It was just, I thought that was so beautiful because it is hard. Sometimes people will walk away from a wedding and be like, we've had friends leave weddings because they were aggravated that so many people were happy around them. So it's, I'm always kind of watching for that. And I feel for people that aren't at that place yet. But the fact that everyone walked away from that with a hope of this is out there for me, no matter when it is, I thought that was great.
You just mentioned the ceremony, right? So one of the things that Jackie did was she gave some parting gifts, which were little mason jars. She wanted everybody to take a little bit of Africa back with them. Did you guys put anything in yours, or you guys left yours on the table?
We took ours. We took ours. We did not. So I'm one of I am always so paranoid about customs coming back, and I know that they're particular about bringing sand back ever. But we got a bunch of spices from the pharmacy when we were there. So we were planning on putting some of the spices or the mint tea that was phenomenal.
That was stellar.
Phenomenal mint tea every day.
Yeah,
it was delicious. So we were planning on putting some of that because we have those in the sealed bags that we got from the pharmacy.
And so, wedding goes by, reception is poolside, everybody's just relaxing in there, off-white tones,
which
right?
Is beautiful.
The next day, we have super intimate experience, right? We go to the hammam as a group. Yeah. What was that experience like? Because, you know, a lot of people have never experienced a hammam before. So tell us from your personal experience, what was it like the hammam like? Because I know Claudio.
See, just this is the thing that happened at the wedding too. People would say Claudius, and I turn like, oh, and I'm like, oh, wrong one.
So tell us about your hammam experience.
You want to go?
I think it was great because Nikki had done the research to what it was going to be, so I had a bit of an idea of what I was getting into, and it was great going through the streets because that's when we spoke about the Medina, and we went. It's almost like an octopus, you know, because it's like you have the core of the body and all the little tentacles. Tentacles are all the little alleyways, and one thing about the alleyways is they're probably about maybe 3 to 4 feet in width.
Probably a little bit, like maybe 10 feet.
No, in terms of when we're walking, in terms of space available.
He's talking about the alley, not the hammam.
The alleys. Yeah,
well, no, we're talking about the hammam,
because they're at least 2 people wide. So you want to say, you're about like
maybe
6 feet, maybe.
But the whole journey to get to there was. You're walking on the side in the alleyways and motorcycles are coming right next to you. So even just the journey to get there
they didn't care.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It was awesome, that whole journey. And then when we get to the location, it was literally like secret door, what's the password? Because it was like we'll go in and they give us tea. The Moroccan tea is just phenomenal. Oh, just mint tea is I love it. And it was such a great relaxing environment because it was the group was so big, so we were split into different locations, and I think it was so relaxing because they had the fountain in the middle, and then Paige's dad was there, Paige, a couple other folks.
Ralph was with us.
Ralph was there,
yeah.
And then I forgot his name, but your frat brother
Nelson.
from Buffalo. Nelson,
yeah.
Great guy, and we were all just really vibing because all the women went in first, and we were all just vibing and talking just about life and kind of pledging and beatings we got growing up from our life. Just really took us to another whole level of connectivity between each other, you know, just really chatting and getting to know each other, and that was just really cool just to talk with everybody, you know. And then even Nelson speaking about the opportunity of where his life is going, his next step in his life journey was just really great just to chat with people. And after that we went into, it was like a massage part, the bath part, where they're just literally throwing buckets of water washing us down, which was just a dope vibe. It was funny because they only had room for 3 because it was like an L shape like this. The U, so whoever went to the University of Miami, it's like that U. And then they had those, and then they come in and they're saying, okay, Claudio, sit here. I was like, no, I'll stand. It's all right, because literally there was no space. So I was like, I can't sit on this. So, but everybody we all had our boxes on, but it was just funny to think about. Even that moment going in, they're like, oh, sit down here. It's like, no, I was like, we're good. And just the experience, those laughters, to even moments that might not be the initial memory that comes to mind when thinking about the trip, but even just discussing it, you come back, you laugh about it, and you're like, it was so awesome. And then after that, the massages after, and that was my experience, just be able to, just a great further connection with the people that were there that make the trip even better.
Nice.
But even here, where I forgot about walking into the, we're just all laughing, you know. And after
It's
that,
a locker room for you.
and then
guys.
who had somebody had the pink robe.
Oh, I had the.
The pink robe. You know, things like that that you think about.
Stinks.
You're like the memory comes back, and I loved it. It was great.
What about you, Nikki?
It was so interesting to see. Especially, they were saying that's something you do like once a week.
Before we go on, like, was it exactly how you researched it, or it was completely the research didn't do it any justice?
It was completely different, I think, because you picture like a big spa for the most part, and
with your mindset of what home is like.
Yeah,
it goes back
you picture
to having
this
that
like
open mind when you travel.
You picture this big like open spa, and then it's really, I mean, you almost have to turn sideways to get through some of the doorways because they were so small, and that there's so many hammams in Marrakesh that they have these like little tiny ones. Like ours could only fit like 6 people, and we had 8, I think. So it was just interesting, and we were laughing too, the way they had us all laying down and in with us. And we're like, he's going to play a prank on us now. This whole time he's going to say he could see. He's been playing like he can't see very well. But he's laying in there with all the ladies.
That was the joke after.
We were cracking up. But it was interesting. I mean, the scrub was nice.
Yeah.
They were obviously like much more gentle on me because I'm pregnant. So, surprise.
Surprise!
It's yours. You are the father.
Yeah, they were much more gentle with me. But it's some of those things. You almost have to bite your tongue when because you just want to laugh because it's so funny. Like you've never really had somebody
just wash you.
Yeah.
Literally wash you, like deep scrub and sponge down your body.
And I kept my eyes closed, but I was like, I don't want to do eye contact. They're like, oh, sorry.
And I think we had all the hot water. Like we had the warm water, and you guys had cold
took
water.
all the hot water.
Yeah, that's right.
So I was like, can you make it? I didn't know how to say hotter in French, and it was just so. From there, we kind of like had a full day at the Medina, and we really was able to kind of like eat and just relax. The next day is the YSL Museum and the
cool.
garden. So what do you guys think about that? Given that, you're in fashion, right?
Yeah.
Was that like a highlight? Because, I mean, some of us not into fashion. So for me, the YSL Museum was not a highlight the last time I was there. So
I thought it was very fascinating. I thought it was really fascinating. He was kind of just like hanging back, and I was looking at all of the different displays. But I actually loved the museum, the Berber Museum, right, in the YSL garden. The garden was gorgeous. It just the vibrant blue on the building with all the cactuses around it.
Oh yeah.
Was really cool. But the thing that was so fascinating, more so of the museums, was that Berber Museum, where they had all of the, I guess, original settlers. Right, and just to see the intricacies on
all the artifacts,
their fashion, and the artifacts that they have, and things that we still use today. It's amazing to think about how those tools came about, because we have machines that help us build things. Just to see how they made everything by hand, and just all those useful tools. I thought that was really incredible.
And it was very interesting to see because in Guatemala with the Mayan Indians, a lot of the similarities to what was in the museum, all the tools that they had, to even a lot of the clothing. That's what I was telling
similar.
Nikki. I'm like, this is very similar to the Mayans, what they had in Guatemala. Yeah.
I mean, which kind of like goes back to the idea of Mesopotamia was actually a real thing, right? Because if the Earth as it is today was all one big piece, and when it's separated, then some of the different cultures around the world maintained what was originally there to an extent, right?
Yeah.
And now that we're in this state, it's like, oh wow, were either these things brought in over through the slave trade, the spice trade, and just exploring? Or were these things just always there everywhere and they were just now starting to discover it?
Yeah.
Right.
Which is kind of like the super awesome aspect of traveling because, you know, you start to see home everywhere you go. Like the building structures, the way people dress, the food, the spices.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the part that I always get super excited about when I go to different countries is like, oh, what else am I going to learn, right?
Yeah.
So, that's the last day. You guys come back home. Hopefully, a nice, safe trip, right? Now, one of the questions I typically ask my guests is traveling while black. But since you guys are a mixed race couple, what have your experiences been like as a mixed race couple when you travel? Because I'm sure you guys get looks, right? You know, maybe Claudius is your help, or you know, that's your sugar mama, right? But like, what has been the experience like? Because different parts of the world treat people differently.
Sure.
And they see the mixed race couples as not a normal thing.
Yeah.
I know, especially in the United States, it's becoming more acceptable, but outside of the United States, I'm assuming things are pretty different, right? Or similar.
They could be. What's interesting is Claudio passes for a lot of different nationalities. When we were in Morocco, they thought that they kept telling me, "Oh,
yes,
Alibaba." But
Alibaba.
the beard was. I buzzed it down for the summer just for now, but it was a thick beard.
He had a very thick beard, and they kept calling him Alibaba, and women were coming up to me and saying I had such a handsome Arab man, which was
nice.
really funny.
Yeah.
But it depends. It depends where we are. Sometimes in the South, and it's more so when they see his last name. Now our last name.
Yeah, Juarez.
When they see the last name and realize that he's of that descent, then it's a little.
It's a default Mexican a lot. Because obviously the Juarez
It
name.
is. Well, we had an experience in New Orleans one time where we got pulled over when we were driving, and the cop.
Because and it goes back to, I think the core of the story as she continues is going into another state or another country with not the at-home mentality and comparing everything to New York.
Right.
So we get a rental vehicle, and I picked the one with New York license plates.
I knew right off the bat. We were driving to Baton Rouge. I knew right off the bat that was not a good
I've
idea.
lived there. It's still some parts. It's a very pre-Civil War-ish state of mind that it didn't. When I was living there, I was more aware of it because that was the world I was in. And after there, that's what she had. She's like, you grab the one with the New York plate, just, and I'm like, and then you're like, oh my gosh, we're in a whole different place. So, we get pulled over.
We get pulled over because we didn't know. We missed the turn that we needed to go to. We stopped, kind of like blocking an intersection. So a cop was like, "What the hell are you doing?"
I just want to pull over because I'm
would have been, and it would have been very different for him had I not been in the car. But I also had a hat on, so like my hair looked even more blonde because my roots were covered. And the cop literally leaned over and looked in the car and saw me in the passenger seat, and it was like instantly softened to him because I was there.
Oh wow.
Which is obviously very wrong, but we've encountered it on that end where he's almost been accepted more because of me. And then when we go to, we've not really gone to Spanish-speaking countries together.
No, not yet.
But we've gone to certain Spanish restaurants or like Uruguayan restaurants or even really any restaurant. He'll start speaking in Spanish and then instantly it softens to us in that way where then I become more accepted because I'm with a man who's speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
We've really not had much prejudice against us, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
In many places that we've gone,
No.
which I appreciate.
And, just to kind of like reiterate, this is not to really
No, but it's
show.
it's also being aware of the prejudice and that racism still exists throughout the world. So it's being aware and respectful to those characters, and it's also reading the room to the type of environment that you're in,
right,
to say this is an uncomfortable situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have to be removed,
right.
to leave there.
No, but on a positive note, how it's we've
because it
been
doesn't always have to
accepted.
be,
Yeah.
it doesn't always have to be a negative experience.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, part of what the show is trying to do is show faces that are similar to ours,
Right.
that it's possible to travel. You won't experience the same prejudices that you've experienced here.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you, like, perfect example, Alibaba. You have a very
gosh.
handsome Arabic man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those are things that we here. I think there's a perception of what a person is supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the world doesn't really see that the same way.
Right.
They just see you look like, okay, Alibaba, I got you.
Yeah.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. But that's also another way of building that bond. Like, sometimes it's a joke, Hey, what's up, Barack? Hey, what's up, LeBron?
Yeah.
But it's to make light of the situation, because
Right.
everywhere is not about, let's bring a person down. It's about, how do we keep the energy and the liveliness up?
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, you guys are still together, clearly, after a pandemic, right? Expanding family, so clearly everything is great. What's the new normal looking like for you guys? With us outside open up, you guys are both in, large markets as far as careers go. What's the new normal look like for you guys, especially around travel and such?
I think that we're much more fluid with every decision that we make. We really we always, and more so him than me, we always really went with the flow, but even more so now, we just roll with the punches with whatever each day brings for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be quick in terms of planning trips and just recognizing, most importantly, when we are getting to a point where our everyday is wearing us down, and we need time to separate from that and reconnect with each other. And we'll be very, very quick in terms of little trips. We will say that we decided to hold off on big international trips until there's no more back and forth on COVID testing, which it seems like we're getting out of that now, but that was a major stressor of what's the window of time before I get my COVID test? Am I going to be able to get a COVID test here? Are they going to let me into this country? And we didn't really want to focus so much on that, the stress of that, and more so we just want to focus on reconnecting with each other and enjoying the place that we're in and the time that we have there. So we've been doing a lot of US stuff. Our next trip will be to Maine, just for like a nice little relaxing getaway. We'll do a few shore trips this weekend, or this summer. And then something that's really important to us going forward is that we travel with our children. Just researching strollers. I'm like, I want a travel stroller. I want a lightweight car seat. I want to be able to go.
Last season we had a few couples with children, and they provided tips on how to travel with kids, the best times to travel. So I'll make sure I'll share those episodes with you guys, because at the end of the day, your experiences with them are going to be the ones that last forever.
And the memories.
And, you talk about going to Disney. Like, I've never been to Disney. I want to go to Disney. So I could borrow your kids and go take them to Disney. But apparently
I should take Peuge to Disney. I planned a great trip in a day.
I'm just saying, we can make it happen, Claudio. I mean, we don't need the rest of that.
We have to go do research at Disney.
So with that being said, the last thing I want to really kind of cover is, you guys provided so many tips during this conversation. Is there anything that stands out for a person that would be interested in starting their travel journey? what would be like the number one thing you think they should look into?
I guess it all depends on major thing. Is there flight anxiety? Is there training? Like, what can they do? You know, and I think in terms of they're just so lost of where do I obviously tune in to some of the different episodes that cover different topics. But if there's even the part where there's so many people that have never even been to New York City, you know, and that live in the tri-state area, just hasn't happened. You know, I think maybe if you're fearful to get out of your own little bubble, it's maybe just go away an hour. You know, you could start like just tiptoeing into it. You know, maybe go to a town that you've never experienced. We'll drive into like these little towns that you're like, man, they probably have a dope 4th of July parade here, like little Main Street. You know, it might be just going that way, or they hopefully have one friend that has traveled and maybe just like, hey, would you go to a place that you've been before that I can go with you, and then we can build it maybe that way. But I think it falls on with the children, you know, as parents, if that ability is there to be able to take them. Because I mean, I always laugh about the thermos and watching my brother get lit up, sucker. But, you know, those are those family trips
that goes along.
Life is so short.
Yeah, those are memorable.
I would say if you want to travel, do it. Absolutely. I think the saying is, travel is the only thing that you will spend your money on that will make you richer. That is to experience different cultures, you really find yourself too when you are out of your comfort zone
and having to communicate one way or another. And now with the phones, I mean, one of the things, I'm an iPhone guy, she's a Pixel person, and her phone translates the menu where I'm just like,
oh yeah, that was important.
But you know, but now that we have so many tools at our disposal that can make traveling less intimidating.
Right.
So that was huge.
I mean, there are amazing tools, exactly, with travel now. I would say be flexible, obviously. Have your list of places that you'd like to see and like to go to, and then figure out the amount of time that you can get away and the budget that you have for it. And then you can go very simply into Google Flights, and you can put in your starting point, and you can put in a time range of where you want to go. Or you can say, I want to take a week-long trip in July. You can put that into Google Flights, and it'll show you exactly.
That is an amazing feature.
Amazing,
that
right?
A lot of people don't know about.
And it's awesome because we've done that before when we've been between. We've said, all right, we want to go to a beach somewhere, no more than 3 hours away, and we looked at Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, I think the Bahamas, and we chose St. Thomas. It ended up being the least expensive option for us, and we could get the most bang for our buck in that time frame that we had, and we had an amazing time. If you want to go somewhere internationally and you're concerned, definitely there are travel groups. When I went to Costa Rica, I did it through Living Social, and there were a bunch of people on the trip that were there by themselves. So connecting up with a group, that is really helpful. I know that was a big part of why we were like, we're going to Morocco this time. We're not going to wait, because there was a guide and we had everything. I mean, everything was planned out already. We didn't have to say, this is where we want to go. Definitely go through that way. Or even like we were saying, cruises. Cruises are a great way to experience places in a brief amount of time, where you can see a bunch of different places, and then you can say, I want to go back to and spend more time here.
Yeah. Right.
So definitely you could work with travel agents, tour guides.
Yeah, and you can go by yourself.
You can go by yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. So I definitely want to thank you guys for really doing this again, and this was an amazing interview. So with that said, please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, hit that notification bell so you guys know when new episodes drop. As always, travel more, stay safe, peace.
Ciao.
Bye.